Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am Zak, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day and that you had a marvelous evening last night as well. We've got some pretty good news to go over today. Number one, Ghislaine, however you want to pronounce it, Maxwell has been arrested by federal authorities in New Hampshire. We're going to be taking a look at that story in detail. We're going to be looking at the charges. We're going to be taking a look at the indictment itself from Technofog, and we're going to be looking at the statement released by the Department of Justice. We've got a couple other tidbits having to go along with that as well, including some footage captured from the DOJ press conference earlier this morning. We are also going to be talking about a mysteriously timed statue of the deceased billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, which suddenly appeared in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico. Also, it looks like Vatican prosecutors have seized data from St. Peter's Basilica. What is that about? And we have 4 additional local politicians, Democrats in Toledo, who have all been arrested on bribery charges by the FBI. And then finally, we're going to be talking about a strange book by Sean Diddy Combs. It's called The Adrenochrome Witch, and there is some weird stuff happening with that. So we're going to take a look at all of this and more. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Pretty much everyone right now could use a little cheering up. And what's a better way to do that than celebrating the 4th of July? It's always a great time for letting your hair down, celebrating our amazing country, and just enjoying yourself. But what if you could extend that 4th of July and make the rest of your life a celebration based on what you did this year? Sound far-fetched? Well, what if you could take your financial worries and just throw them out the window? What if you could take your money away from the risky stock market and into your own retirement account? Well, gold is up 16% so far this year, and the Dow is down by around 10%. And Noble Gold, of course, can help you celebrate this July in style. This right here is a rare America the Beautiful silver coin, and with any qualified gold IRA, you'll receive one of these coins for free. This is a $150 value, and it's a limited edition silver coin. You can see how beautiful it is. This is one of the most beautiful coins ever made in and for America, and you can get this for free. Just make sure you tell Noble Gold that Red Pill 78 sent you so you qualify for this free silver coin offer. This offer is only for July, so make sure you call right away and don't let this slip through your fingers. Just click the link below to visit noblegoldinvestments.com, or you can call them at 877-646-5347 and get the celebration started early. Again, the link is in the description and the pinned comment to visit noblegoldinvestments.com or call 877-646-5347. Make sure to tell them Red Pill 78 sent you so they know that supporting my channel is making a difference. When you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today we're going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein's confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell. She has been arrested on a particular type of abuse charges. Now, these include trafficking, perjury, and more. She faces at least 4 sex trafficking charges. Now, his former girlfriend and accused madam was taken into custody earlier today by the FBI. She was arrested in New Hampshire on Thursday on multiple sex abuse charges, including conspiracy to entice minors to engage in those acts. She was taken into custody around 8:30 a.m. this morning in Bedford, New Hampshire, and the FBI has confirmed this to Fox News. Many outlets are reporting on it. Apparently, before this, she had been hiding out in Paris before they finally caught up with her in New Hampshire. Don't forget, she is the daughter of late media magnate Robert Maxwell, a British socialite, and she has been accused in civil court filings of facilitating the trafficking operation that brought girls, some as young as 14, into Epstein's Manhattan home, though until Thursday she had not been formally charged with any criminal wrongdoing. And in fact, she had previously spoken with the FBI and denounced any knowledge of anything that was going on, said she had nothing to do with it, and that is why the perjury charge has been added on as well. Now, according to the unsealed documents, criminal prosecutors have charged Maxwell with 1 count of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, 1 count of enticement of a minor to travel to engage in those same acts, 1 count count of conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in those criminal sex acts, and 2 counts of perjury. Now, the charges themselves are only between 1994 and 1997, so that leaves many, many years open that they can charge her with additional things if she doesn't want to play ball. Now, during that time, they allege she assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of those minor girls by, among other things, helping him to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. Now, she didn't just assist him in the grooming and abuse. She actively participated in it, and we know this from the testimony of people who were victims of both of them. Now, moreover, in an effort to conceal her crimes, Maxwell repeatedly lied when questioned about that conduct, including in relation to some of the minor victims while she was providing testimony under oath in 2016. Now, during a press conference earlier today, they laid out how they believe she lured underage girls into Epstein's corrupt world of sex and violence. They claim she first attempted to befriend the young girls, asking about their lives, families, and school, and then she would take them shopping or go to movies so they would end up feeling comfortable around her and then Jeffrey. Now, she would then try to normalize the abuse by discussing these adult acts, undressing in front of the victims, being present when an underage victim was getting undressed, and would often be in the room during the acts with Epstein and the girls. Now, she also used herself as an instructional guide of sorts, allegedly demonstrating on Jeffrey what he wanted the girls to do to him, according to this indictment. Now, they also claim that Epstein offered to pay for schooling for the girls and that Maxwell encouraged certain victims to accept Epstein's assistance. As a result, victims were made to feel indebted and believed Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. Now, the authorities also allege that Maxwell actively participated in that abuse. They claim the abuse took place not only in Manhattan, but also Palm Beach, the Florida estate there, also his Santa Fe, New Mexico ranch, as well as Maxwell's private home in London. Now, she is 58. She definitely dated Epstein more than a decade ago and became a member of his tight inner circle until his August 10th Arkanside. In a 2003 article in Vanity Fair, she was referred to by Jeffrey as his best friend. Now, we are all well aware of the trafficking charges that were placed against Epstein before his untimely passing last summer after he was found in his cell in an impossible situation. He was a man of a certain height who was trying to hang himself from a bed of a certain height, and it was just physically impossible. Throw into that the broken bones in the neck. This guy definitely didn't do this himself. He was Arkansided. Clinton body count is trending today. Now, back in May, Maxwell actually won a request to delay questioning in a civil suit that has been brought against her, because if she testified in that civil suit, it could potentially implicate her in crimes that could be charged against her in a criminal case. Well, now she actually has been charged in a criminal case, so I think that there is no issue with having her testify in that civil case, since she's already going to be in jail. Magistrate Judge Deborah Freeman, overseeing that civil suit, said, "I'm permitting her not to respond to written questions and not to have her deposition. Not forever, but at least long enough to let us know whether the claims process is likely to go forward." Maxwell faces multiple lawsuits, in fact, against her for her role in the Epstein nefarious activities, and this ruling in May specifically dealt with a lawsuit filed by Annie Farmer. Annie Farmer is the woman who was a significant portion of that new Netflix documentary that came out. And Maxwell's lawyer's name is Laura Menninger. She had asked the federal judge to stay Maxwell's deposition, saying the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York has publicly and repeatedly announced its ongoing criminal investigation into alleged Epstein co-conspirators on the same topic as Farmer alleges in this case. Now, of course, Maxwell was the #1 co-conspirator, so they knew this criminal action was going to be coming sooner rather than later. So now I want to take you to the indictment itself. Let's go take a look at that. All right, so thank you to Technofog for so promptly getting these documents and putting them on Twitter. The Maxwell indictment charges include, number 1, conspiracy to entice minors to engage in illegal sex acts. Number 2, conspiracy to transport minors to engage in illegal acts. And then also transportation of a minor to engage in illegal sex acts. So 2 counts of conspiracy, 1 count of actual transportation, and then finally count of perjury. So let's take a look here at the indictment. Now, this is coming out of the Southern District of New York. I think it is worth mentioning that less than 2 weeks after Jeffrey Berman was forced out as the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, we finally have some movement on the Maxwell case. Now, they've been sitting on this information for a good long time. Perhaps it was the fact that she wasn't in the country and that's why they didn't act on it, but I think that that is maybe a little too generous. We know that she has been in the country on at least a couple of occasions. She was found formerly in the Northeast. She had previously been seen in a photoshopped photo op in California at an In-N-Out Burger, but when it comes down to it, they had to wait until it was the right time. So for whatever reason, outside of my purview, it was the right time now, and they got her this morning. So count 1, it shows the conspiracy to entice, and then it continues on with count 3, the conspiracy to transport. Count 4, the transportation of a minor with that horrible intent. And then finally, count 5, perjury. So this is great news here. This is a slam dunk case here, guys. They would not have brought these charges if they did not know with absolute certainty that they were going to be able to pin them on her. Now, think about this. Jeffrey Epstein was where they all started, and I'm sure that they plan to branch out and go to people in his inner circle and then people that are co-conspirators outside of his inner circle. So Maxwell being the next closest person in proximity to Jeffrey means that from here on out, they're going to continue to branch out. It is worth mentioning that the SDNY Public Corruption Unit is one of the units handling this very case. Now, the Public Corruption Unit generally handles corruption and criminal activity by elected officials, current and past elected officials. However, in this instance, we know because the Public Corruption Unit is investigating, and part of it, it means that elected officials are certainly involved, and perhaps they could be named as additional co-conspirators, perhaps co-conspirators at different periods of time. As I said before, this is in the late 90s. They've got about 2 decades now, and they can continue through and see about some additional charges for other people in her inner circle. I want to say that I think that Jeffrey Epstein probably did have a FISA warrant on him, which allowed for that umbrella surveillance, which would then, of course, have gone over to Maxwell and then people around her. She probably had her own FISA warrant this entire time that she's been on the run, and I cannot wait to see who has been speaking to her while she thought she was safe. Let's go ahead and take a look at a post. So this right here is the most recent post, 4565, and it says, possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main person of interest. I think we've talked about this more than a few times on the program. Jeffrey was the front man. He was running that blackmail operation. However, there must have been people behind him. Now, financed by who or what foreign entities? This is hinting that it's not just an individual pulling the string, but perhaps an agency or even a foreign government. Number 1, primary. The reason they were doing this, gather blackmail on elected politicians, dignitaries, royalty, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street, and other financial top-level players, as well as other high-profile industry-specific people. We've talked before on the program about how the cabal has their fingers in literally every organization, every type of business, every government, anywhere you can look where there is money to be made or power that needs to be brokered. You can bet they have blackmail material on the people who are in those top-level positions. And the people who are blackmailed, they are able to rise to those top-level positions because they are blackmailed and they're willing to do whatever it takes. So the people pulling the strings are going to make sure that they advance forward, and they're the people who are going to be in charge. Number 2, feed an addiction, controllable. What is the addiction here? The addiction, my friends, unfortunately, is children. They run these operations so that they can continue to provide these sickos with their addictive needs. Maxwell family background. Robert Maxwell was a media baron of sorts in the UK. There have also been many, many rumors that Maxwell was connected to certain intelligence agencies, perhaps MI6, perhaps Mossad. Robert Maxwell's history, intel, agency, wealth, and then classified 1 through 99. So something that we are not privy to because we don't have the clearance. Sometimes it's the people in the background that are of greater significance. As I said before, before, the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein certainly would have led to other individuals. In that same way, this investigation into Maxwell is going to do the exact same thing. The only question is, who or what was pulling those strings? Now, just real quick, I want to take you back to post 4484 from June 20th, an excellent example of future-proving past. We were told SDNY. We were asked the importance of SDNY control. Well, they had jurisdiction over the Wiener laptop, Clinton Foundation, Epstein evidence collection, Ukraine, and they told us to watch NYC. I am not surprised that we had Ghislaine Maxwell getting arrested today. The old guard refused to step down. They refused to take action on these very important cases, while at the same time they went after President Trump and his family with uncharacteristic zeal. So now we have an acting U.S. attorney in there. The new U.S. attorney is in the process of being confirmed. I'm wondering how many other high-profile cases the acting U.S. attorney is going to take action on. If it's all of these cases, I really am not going to be upset at all. Now, speaking specifically about the FISA possibility on both Epstein and Maxwell, taking you back to post 3428, we have a link to an article in the New York Post, and it's talking about the Victoria's Secret pipeline, how that specific pipeline brought girls and victims to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it also gives us Ghislaine Maxwell's name, and it says, follow the family, UK and US, 1 and 2, and then it says umbrella surveillance, leapfrog, 1 to 4 points of contact. And then open source, they give us this picture right here, which shows Ghislaine Maxwell and others at the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Let's take a look at that photo. So right here, with Ghislaine Maxwell being a part of this organization, or maybe just attending their events, the people who also attended those events with her, or who would be in close proximity to her as a result of the affiliation with this organization, means that they could potentially be some of those people under the umbrella surveillance and who could be brought into this investigation as part of the co-conspirator point. And then, of course, we have post 3431 right here, which shows Ghislaine Maxwell right there with a couple of different people. You have left to right, Nat Rothschild right there, Nefer Suvio right there, Nick Rhodes right there, and Ghislaine herself right there. This time at the National Youth Orchestra of the United States of America reception at the Royal Albert Hall, hosted by Ronald O. Perlman in London. Now, here in the post, it says, coincidence those mentioned in the past month are now coming to light. Think LDR, Lynn de Rothschild, think Gloria Vanderbilt, think Epstein. Think. There are additional names that are going to come up. Now, that was from July 14th, 2019. And then right here in post 3508, what do we have? It's a photo of former President Bill Clinton with Ghislaine Maxwell, and they are standing in an airplane. This right here, I believe, could very possibly be the private jet of Jeffrey Epstein, the Lolita Express. And if it's not the Lolita Express, then that means that Maxwell and Clinton had many other close associations outside of their specific relationship because of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I said earlier on Occam's Razor that today, with the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, this could potentially be the very first arrest. We already know that the indictment was unsealed. Now, going to this post from Nurse Deplorable, she brought this to Twitter from the boards, and the theory is, according to this anon, that this, in fact, is the first arrest. Now, if we take a look at post 3716, it says, first indictment unseal will trigger mass population awakening. First arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. They will fight, but you are ready. And then marker 9. Now, continuing on to post 4256, we were talking earlier about how we are in the 9th week of these 10 weeks right here that Q gave us, with the 10th week being the week of July 5th. This, in fact, is the 9th week. So that would make this marker 9. That would make Ghislaine Maxwell the first unsealed arrest, and it will show the direction that we're going to be headed. This is going to shock the world because of the people associated with this case. The many rich and powerful people. My friends, it is happening. We are in it. Now, next, I want to take you to a short segment taken from the actual press conference given by the SDNY this morning. The woman that you're going to hear speaking is the current acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Now, Method says U.S. Attorney Berman out, Strauss in. Less than 2 weeks later, Maxwell is charged. SDNY blockade removed. Hashtag QAnon.
My name is Audrey Strauss. I'm the acting United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Today we announce charges against Ghislaine Maxwell for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually exploit and abuse multiple minor girls from the period of 1994 through 1997. Maxwell has been taken into custody early this morning in New Hampshire and will be presented this afternoon before a magistrate judge in the District of New Hampshire. You'll recall that the indictment against Jeffrey Epstein that we filed in July of 2019 charged Epstein with sexual abuse of young girls from 2002 through 2005. This case against Ghislaine Maxwell is the prequel to the earlier case that we brought against Jeffrey Epstein. As alleged, starting in 1994 until at least 1997, Maxwell had a personal and professional relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
The look on her face, priceless. So as U.S. Attorney Strauss said, through at least 1997, I love the fact that she called it the prequel to the case against Jeffrey Epstein, because I think the sequel is going to be all of those elected officials and powerful people who were also involved in his terrible crimes. Now, on the note of the sequel to the Jeffrey Epstein case, a victim's attorney, specifically Lisa Bloom, was on a radio program earlier today, and she speculated that Ghislaine could potentially reveal bigger names involved in this network as part of her plea deal. I think that that is a very likely scenario, and I'm very happy that she's under guard of military police while in U.S. custody. Now, she was on a United Kingdom radio broadcast this morning, and she said, "I'm sure that Ghislaine's attorney will try to make a deal where she speaks out about a bigger name to get reduced charges for herself. But she herself is a big name. With Jeffrey Epstein's passing a year ago, she is one of the biggest names of people who were involved in the scheme." Now, the prospect of Maxwell fingering a bigger name in order to get a reduced sentence for herself is interesting, given that there were reports Epstein was planning to do the same before he was Arkancided weeks later. Now, let's think about some people who are connected. Definitely Prince Andrew. He is immediately the biggest name that comes to mind. If this scandal right here takes down the royal family, I think that that will be really good for humanity. But I also think that Prince Andrew would go ahead and name additional people himself. Now, we're going to have to go ahead and wait and see, but I am really looking forward to that sequel. Now, in what may totally be a strange coincidence, but it does have some pretty mysterious timing, a statue of Jeffrey Epstein was found in downtown Albuquerque. It's a mystery how they got there. No one knows. But many viewers reported seeing a statue of the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in downtown Albuquerque on Wednesday morning, so just 24 hours ago. There were several viewers who sent in photos to this local affiliate that reported on it, KOAT, of what appeared to be a bronze statue placed in front of the old city hall, and it turns out it was actually just a painted mannequin. Now, there, you wouldn't know by looking at it that it's Jeffrey, but if you take a look at the plaque right there below the mannequin, this plaque gave some brief background on Jeffrey and also read in part, he had a home in New Mexico, Zorro Ranch. He was also a rapist who died in prison. It then went on to list several court cases involving Jeffrey and his victims. And you can see right there, it has quite the list. I don't know if this is complete and total, but It does say it was generously provided to Bernalillo County by the Ant Lion Entertainment Art Collective. And here are some additional pictures taken by viewers, people posing with it. Now it continues, by the time KOAT was able to arrive with their cameras, the statue had been removed by city staff. Now they asked the mayor, Tim Keller, what he thought about the mannequin, and he himself said he had no idea where it came from. There's a lot of mystery. This doesn't even make any sense, Keller said, and city officials are looking into how the statue got onto their property. Very, very interesting. Now, our next story, although not about crimes against children, has to do with a particular organization that has a storied history of committing crimes against children. Now, Vatican prosecutors have seized data from St. Peter's Basilica. They ordered the seizure of documents and computers from the administrative offices of St. Peter's Basilica in what appears to be a new investigation into financial irregularities in the Holy See. Now, on Tuesday, the Vatican said that Pope Francis also named a special commissioner to run the Basilica, reorganize its offices, and update its statutes to comply with new Vatican norms on procurement and contracting and to clarify its administration. The Vatican said both decisions stemmed from a report from the Vatican's Auditor General. It said on the auditor's report that the Vatican criminal prosecutors authorized the seizure Tuesday of documentation and computers from the offices that manage the Pope's Basilica. The Vatican provided no additional details about what exactly was flagged by the auditor or what the specific problems that the extraordinary commissioner has been tasked with fixing, but the commissioner, whose name is Bishop Mario Giordana, previously conducted an investigation into financial irregularities within the Sistine Chapel Choir that led to the early retirement of the choir master last year. Now, although we don't know what these financial irregularities are, I think that it is something that is important to talk about. Obviously, the Vatican has just an immense amount of power and wealth, and I think there probably is a lot of money coming and going off the books there in many different areas of the Papal See. So, Vatican prosecutors are going to be looking into this, and we'll be keeping an eye on it for future stories. Now, in our next story, from the Blaze, another set of Democrat politicians at the local level have been arrested by the FBI. This time, 4 Toledo City Council members, all Democrats, arrested on bribery charges. Now, 4 members of the Toledo City Council were arrested and charged in a bribery scheme by federal law enforcement authorities on Tuesday, the 30th. Federal prosecutors allege that Tyrone Riley, Yvonne Harper, Larry Sykes, and Garrick Johnson were involved in a scheme that extorted money from business owners in the Ohio City in exchange for favorable city council votes, something we've heard many times in the recent past. The FBI began the investigation into the council members in early 2018, so well into President Trump's first term. Now, each of the accused members could face up to 10 years in prison for the bribery charges and up to 20 years in prison for the extortion charges. Now, also charged in the scheme was an attorney who is accused of helping orchestrate the crimes. Toledo Mayor Wade Kapsowicz issued a statement calling it a terrible day for the city. He said, "I'm shocked and heartbroken by today's arrests. This is a terrible day for Toledo and for everyone who believes in the good that can be accomplished through public service." Unfortunately, more often than not, we see that this is how it works at the local level. And then when those people leave the local level, they go to the state or the federal level and they take their corruption schemes with them. They just get bigger and bigger. He continued, "I have no tolerance for public officials who abuse the trust of citizens. I encourage all Toledoans to say a prayer for our city and for the hope that justice will be done in this case." And he went on to remind Toledo citizens that the accused are innocent until proven guilty. Now, Mark Waggoner, the chair of the Lucas County Republican Party, called for the resignation of all 4 Democrats. That is not too much to ask, I think. He said, "Democrat domination of Toledo city politics has consequences, and today we see them. Lucas County Republicans have long pointed to the culture of corruption within the city of Toledo and have put forward quality candidates to end Democratic domination." Councilwoman Harper is reportedly the executive director of the Lucas County Democrat Party. So I encourage all citizens of Toledo to vote Republican in their upcoming election, and if these Democrat politicians do decide to resign and do the right thing, hopefully there will be a special election and you guys can get somebody in there sooner than later who is going to actually represent the will and the needs of the people. All right, finally, last night, this began trending on Twitter. Well, I mean, trending amongst people that I follow and people that I know. So IET shared this woman, Rachel's tweet, showing that Sean P. Diddy Combs had a book available on Barnes & Noble Nook called The Adrenochrome Witch. He has several books available on Nook, but this one obviously caught everybody's attention. I believe this is the original tweet which started people sharing it around and starting to look into it. I went ahead and searched on multiple search engines last night. You could not find anything related to this book. When you searched, it wouldn't take you to Barnes & Noble. It wouldn't take you to any other place where you could get the book. The only place I could find that mentioned it was this Reddit post, and then also in Google Books. You could see a sample of it where I believe it is still for sale. Now let's take a look at IET's tweet regarding this. Now, he actually located the link to Barnes & Noble, and as of last night around 1 a.m., it was still available. You could go to it, and I verified that this book, The Adrenochrome Witch, was a real thing. Now, you can see it was for sale for $100. Now, as of today, it is no longer available. What happens when you click the link? Well, it takes you to a Barnes & Noble page, and it says, sorry, we couldn't find what you're looking for. Please try another search or browse our recommendations below. There is nothing related to this. So sometime over the night or this morning, this book was wiped from Barnes & Noble, and it's no longer available. However, I do have a link to the Google Books document that is available on the web. Let's take a look at it. Now, here it is. You can buy this ebook for $80, which is a slightly better price, but it has a sample of the book that's available, and it's not very much. It starts off, once upon a time in the land of Hollywood, many women came into acting careers and were exposed to higher authorities who didn't know God or accept the Lord Jesus Christ into their hearts as their eternal Savior. Many of these women started off innocent and had good intentions when they entered the world of Hollywood and the elite. It's not very well written, but it says these women were subjected to people thought they could have anything in life they wanted because they felt they could purchase anything with money. One of the most coveted things many of these women wanted was eternal youth. They tried many beauty creams like ones made by Estee Lauder, Chanel, and Oil of Olay. They even used Dove cream soap. And then it continues to another page, and it says, at first when I started hearing about these elite parties that took place in Hollywood and around the world, I seriously thought the people telling them were enjoying the wrong kind of weed. But during the CV-19 2020 pandemic, the world has been brought to a standstill, and much that has been hid in the darkness has been brought to light. It's not pretty. And then there is a segment of lyrics from the song by the Eagles, Hotel California. I'm sure you guys know the lyrics to that, but you can look them up on your own. And then that is the end of it right here. Now, there's a couple of different things I'm thinking. That original book on Barnes & Noble perhaps was not written by Sean P. Diddy Combs. Perhaps it was written by someone else who said that their name was Sean P. Diddy Combs. Now, the question is, how long was it available on Barnes & Noble? How many times did they sell the book at $100 a pop? And how many times has Google Books sold this book through their platform? Now, the other thing is, if it is by Sean Combs, then clearly it was wiped from the website because the subject matter of the book is not something they want people to be looking into. At this point, that's as much information as I have. I would be very interested to know if anyone did purchase this book and has a copy. I'd like to read it, and I would certainly appreciate you helping me out by sending it to me at redpill78@protonmail.com. Well, guys, I think that's all that I have for you today. I hope that after watching this broadcast, you are feeling better, that you're feeling uplifted. I think that this was a win that we as Americans needed, that this movement needed, and that humanity needed. This is a major step forward, and I think the rest of this summer is going to be hot. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. If you're interested in doing more, there is always links in the description below. I have the merch store. Of course, I also have the backup channels. Please subscribe to those. If you take a look up here, you're going to see a couple of other videos. There's also a spot to subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. And if you are subscribed, I ask you to please check and make sure that you're still subscribed and your notifications are turned on. Thank you everybody for watching the program, and I will see you tomorrow.